Robert Reich says, all told, it's been the worst decade for American workers in a century. According to Commerce Department data, private sector wage gains over the last decade have even lagged behind wage gains during the decade of the Great Depression. Can you believe that? 4% over the last 10 years, adjusted for inflation, versus 5% from 1929 to 1939. How about that? And the big American corporations are making more money, creating more jobs outside the United States than in it. Huh? What should we do to those corporations? Anybody got any ideas? American children, 1 in 6 people in this country are now receiving food stamps. 1 in 4 American children is dealing with not enough food or the proper food because of this. Our infrastructure is crumbling. Jobs are gone. What should we do to the CEOs of these massive capitalist organizations that have decided to take advantage of workers in other countries where $3 a day is appreciated? And so they leave the U.S. and take the jobs with them. Companies that were built by the sweat of American workers. Well, what do we do with them? Anybody got any ideas? What do you do with people like that? Do you ignore them? Do you try to be like them? Do you just sit back and curse them? What do you do? What do you do? Now, if it were a foreign invader, we would know what to do. If a foreign invader came here and started destroying, our factories, stealing the machinery out of our factories that we used to use to produce stuff, tampering with our food supply, jacking up the prices artificially so that they, the invader, could make money, jacking up the price of gasoline and fuel desperately needed to run the whole shebang. If a foreign invader do that, we know what we would do. We would kill them. We would wage either open warfare or guerrilla warfare against them, and we would kill them or die trying, because they would be an invader and they had come into our country and they were destroying everything, and they were causing our children to go hungry and our breadwinners to commit suicide, and nervous breakdowns among our population as people realized that they were having everything they owned stolen from them. All of a sudden their houses weren't worth a damn thing. All of a sudden they couldn't get financing. The credit card interest rates were over the top because these invaders had come in and changed everything. What would we do? We would kill them, wouldn't we? Wouldn't we? I think we would. I know I would if somebody invades my country. As much as I am a pacifist, I'm not a moron. If somebody invades my country, my neighborhood, my house, I will kill them. It's very simple. Once I ascertain that that person is there to do me severe harm and maybe kill my family and kill me, what am I going to do? Sit there and chant Kumbaya? I don't think so. That's when I pick up a weapon and defend myself. How do I defend myself? I kill the invader or die trying. Right? I mean, isn't that basic evolutionary law? Isn't it? Huh? I think so. Unless something changed. Unless our DNA has all of a sudden, or our genetic structure has said, no, just sit here and die. So, Robert Reich says CEO pay has soared, going way up, while the working people in this country are plunging deeper into a hole. You know, I'll tell you something too, Seeger. Eventually the hole is going to be so deep we can't get out of it. I keep talking about what's it going to take. What is the tipping point? At what point do we say, okay, that's enough, and start to resist and fight back? And I mean seriously resist. I mean seriously fight back. At what point do we do that? If you are, say, 5'10", and you're in a hole that is 6 feet deep, you can still get out. 6.5 feet, you can get out. 7 feet, you can get out. 8 feet, it's going to be a little struggle. 10 feet, somebody throw you a rope. 12 feet, 20 feet. At some point, the hole gets deep enough that you can't get out. And you know what happens then? They start shoveling the dirt in on top of you, and that's the end of that. The ratio of corporate profits to wages, you know, what the capitalists make and what you and I make, is now higher than at any time since just before the Great Depression. Huh? Meanwhile, our economy has stopped growing. In large part because consumers, and remember, the buyers, the consumers, provide 70% of gross domestic product. 70%. But the consumers are also workers whose jobs and wages are disappearing. How deep does a hole have to get? 12 feet? 12 and a half feet? 13? 13 and a half? How deep before we can't crawl out? Huh? Reich says, so let's bag the picnics and parades this Labor Day. American workers should march in protest. They're getting the worst deal they've had since before Labor Day was invented. And the economy is suffering as a result. And as the economy suffers, the society suffers, the political system suffers, the culture suffers, the educational system suffers, the infrastructure, everything. Everything is going to hell. Is anybody, a little bit later on tonight, I'm going to talk about that. I ran into this very interesting piece written by the editorial director of, are you ready? Variety. The Hollywood, publication? I'll get to that later tonight. But Robert Reich is right. Big American corporations are making more money and creating more jobs than ever before, except they're all outside the U.S. So what do we do? Got lots of options, lots of ways to respond to someone, a foreigner, of course, coming into your country, your state, your society, your workforce, your home, your child's mind, and destroying everything. You just sit back and say, okay, I'm helpless. I can't do anything. No. If it were a foreign invader, well, what would we do? Would we just sit back while the invader did all the damage? Or would we fight? That's quite a questioner, Malloy.